Hello, and welcome to this segment of Experts on Tap. I'm Lewis Talley, Technology Solutions Architect with InSource Solutions. And today, I'm going to spend some time talking about AVEVA Mobile Operator Rounds. So today we plan to cover how mobile operator rounds, the system architecture can be set up, how to build out a mobile operator round. So we're actually going to take a round that a customer sent us and show you how easy it is to put that in as a round, but also sort of, I like to say, reimagine it because I add some additional things to it. So for instance, I incorporate a QR code in there for better resolution of a location of where you are, so making sure that you're at the actual asset. And then lastly, we're going to sort of go through that round live on the iPad. So I've got an iPad here, and I'm going to be streaming that, airplaying that to my laptop so you can actually see what that round looks like. And then, of course, going over some of the reports and data that you can see with the system and some of the unique things that you can do. So not a whole bunch of PowerPoint today to show you. I wanted to actually show you actual live software today. So just a kind of a brief recap and to talk a little bit about how the system architecture of the mobile rounds technology gets deployed. So as I'm going to be showing it to you, everything is all installed on a laptop, but there's really 5 pieces of the core technology that you see here. So the procedure builder is what's made up of a tool that allows me to take the round that's typically done with clipboard and piece of paper and then put that into the system. And so oftentimes, if I'm doing this on at a customer site for a demo or something like that, I'll get the customer to show up with a round and I'll actually code it in. You're not really coding, but I'll actually put it into the system right there on the fly just to show them how easy it is, and then hand them the device and let them go do the demo. So that's done in the procedure builder. And then once you build out your procedure, then you would schedule it. And I like to akin that to like using Outlook. And so, you know, if I go into Outlook and I want to set up and schedule a meeting, I can set it up for recurring and the behavior of when I get alerted on it and things like that. Same sort of thing. So the schedule manager is really a visual tool that lets me build out this round. And then there's a number of different tools for sort of interacting with the technology from a reporting perspective. So the Auditor Plus is the piece I'm going to show you. That's meant to be really an interactive reporting solution. So I can actually go through and I can see all the data that was collected from the round, who did what when. I can administratively override things. I'll go through and show you my round that actually has a signature in it. So you can see all that stuff that gets set up with it. And then lastly, the mobile piece. So back to architecture. So this is all deployed on a single virtual machine, but you could deploy this sort of in a tiered topology. So there is a databases component to it where all this information is stored. That needs to live somewhere on the network. There's a server that's responsible for syncing this, and then there's the, you know, all the other pieces and parts. And most people sort of size all that all on one machine, or it can be split out. But the mobile piece is how users would interact with the software. So this technology is all about, I like to say 2 things. It's more than 2, but 2 things mainly. Stranded assets. So things that are not connected to the control system or PLC. So things that, you know, someone's going to be walking around and observing or writing something down. So that's one main piece of it. And the other main piece of it is it's a mobile decision support platform. Now that's just a fancy way of saying it's a computer that you have in your hand. In this case, it's an iPad, and it could be lots of other devices. It could be an Android device. It could be a Windows device. It could be a purpose-built peripheral device. So this is a temperature gun. It doesn't happen to be Bluetooth, so I'm going to zap it and take a picture of it, and you get to see what it looks like. But there's all different types of peripheral devices that this interfaces to, you know, Bluetooth, vibration analysis, things like that, all different types. And so that's really the pieces and parts of what makes up the mobile operator round software. So let's talk about how to build out a mobile operator round. So bear with me here. I'm going to be switching around. So we have here is an example round that was sent to us. And this just shows you that someone was actually going through, printing this out, and walking around and collecting this data. This is stuff that's not coming into the PLC. So we're not going to zoom too much into this. I asked for this, and what you'll notice here is you've got, you know, just some air compressor readings. So there's, I think, 5 or 6 of the air compressors, and there's a lot of repeatable things. And so, I said, okay, what could we do to sort of make this better? Because one of the things that a piece of paper doesn't do is it doesn't have that decision support capability. It's not a computer, but we have that capability with this technology. So what I mean is, if I'm collecting the compressor outlet PSI and it starts to trend upwards or trend in the wrong direction, what do I want to do? Maybe I want to generate an alert. Maybe I want to generate a work order request in my computerized maintenance management system, send an email, let somebody know, or perhaps some additional logic. I want to kick off another procedure for them to go execute and collect data from a different set of assets. So this piece of paper doesn't tell me any of that stuff. So I said, well, let's sort of reimagine that. And so I'm going to pop over here to this other tab, and this is just applying a little bit of the stuff that I sort of talked about. So now as I go out and I do these multiple compressor readings, right? If I start to trend upwards, you can see here that it's turned yellow. So if it's, forget the exact rule, but I think I said if it's above 60, 61, make it yellow. And then if it gets a little bit higher than that, like 63, make it red. And so the idea here is, equipping someone who's out there in the field with the tools they need to collect the data they need to do their job and make informed decisions. And so same concept with the differential air filter. And so I thought it would be cool to take this to the next level and incorporate the QR code. And so I actually wrote a tech note on this, so you can go into our Knowledge Center and find exactly how to do this. I'm not going to cover all that because that's what the tech note's for. So I thought it would be cool to have a QR code. And one of the neat things that you can do with this technology is, because I have this computer or whatever, right, I can make sure that the person is at the right place, right? So, it does me no good if they're sitting in the control room and they're printing this stuff out. So I took and found a free QR code generator. And in this case, the way it works, and the tech note gets into more of this, but the way it works is basically you just tell a QR code generator to generate the name of the asset. In this case, it's just air compressor 1. And so when I'm building out the round, I set up and configure all of that behavior. So there's my reimagined round, right? And so what I did was I sort of took one and I modeled a few just so you get the idea, and actually you would probably just, cut, copy, and paste to keep adding assets and things like that. So bear with me. Let's actually look at what the configuration of this looks like. So we'll come back to this in a second. So I'm going to switch into my virtual machine. So now you're looking at the procedure auditor. I'm sorry, you're looking at the procedure builder. So this is how we built out this round. And so when I built this out, I literally had a spreadsheet next to this thing, and I would cut, copy, paste, drag, and drop. So this is a super simple exercise to do. The procedure builder is very simple, straightforward. You interact with it by dragging and dropping. And so I like I said, I modeled out a few of what's called the task groups, the data collection points in the system, and some of that behavior associated with them. So you can see, the name of the asset, what it's doing. This is just a data collection point. And then, I have some logic on here that says if it's above a certain value, it's, generating a severity and a data filter, things like that. This will make more sense when you actually see it in the round. But, this is super easy to do. Just point, click, drag, drop, and then go from there. And so once that becomes available, right, I can schedule that. And so this is the schedule manager. And so the schedule manager, you interact with that. I tell people, if you can use Outlook to schedule a meeting, you can use the schedule manager. And so, you can interact. I've made all my procedures, as they're called, my data collection rounds. I've made all of them available on demand, but you can also go in and schedule them. So you can go in and set up recurrences and what behavior you want to do, how long you want to have, if there's exceptions, if you want to allow someone to pick it up early or when you deem it late. So one of the cool things about this is, I'll just add a couple on here just to show you. If you start to add some things on here, you get sort of a view down here at the bottom of, kind of what's going on in your system, right? So, I don't have a ton of things in here, but you can see as I've got things that are scheduled, completed, missed, or new. So you get sort of a kind of a view over time of what's going on in the system. Now you'll notice I have tons of shifts in my demo, and it's just so I can show lots and lots of different data and lots of different scheduling ways. You'd probably have something that looks just like yours, But, you can come in here and sort of get kind of a view of how much time your people are spending doing the task versus what they're supposed to be, the time they're supposed to be spending doing the task and where they spent their time. So now let's shift gears a little bit and actually go into the execution of this round. And so for that, I'm going to go back to my iPad, right? So I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to stream this to my laptop. So let's look at that. All right. So right now, just to show you here, you should be seeing, I lost my video here. Sorry. You should be seeing this laptop that I'm showing in the camera. So I'm just airplaying it to my laptop so you can actually see, right? So let's go through a round here. And I need to pull something up to make my life a little bit easier. Pull up my reimagined round here. So I've already logged into the thing, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to run the round. Now, one of the first things you'll notice is, and this is covered in more detail in the tech note that I built, this is actually locked. And the reason why is because when I reimagined this round, right, the thing I showed you, the spreadsheet with the QR code, I went in here and I said, you know what, I want to make sure that that person is actually at that asset to perform this task. So they can't actually go in and do anything here until I make sure that they're at the asset. So if you went to the next task, you can see it on the screen. It actually skips you right to the second air compressor, and that's because it's locked. And I've intentionally set it up that way. So I've told to the system that, hey, I want you to scan a peripheral device. It could be an RFID, it could be a Bluetooth beacon. In this case, it's just a QR code. Same exact concept. And so this is pretty cool. So when I go through, and you'll notice that there's no, assets locked, there's nothing associated with it. Now, when I go and I scan the asset, right? So now you're actually looking at the camera here. And so I'm going to get the QR code centered. And now notice that it says asset air compressor 1. So we have to use our imagination. I'm sitting here in my office, but, presumably I would be walking around with this mobile device, and then I would, scan at the asset of wherever I am. And so in this case, I can say whether or not the asset is running, because if it's not running, it probably doesn't make sense to go collect the data values that we're seeing here. And so let's go in and let's add a value here. So let's say we want to add, 64. So this is another really neat thing that you can do with the system. So you can actually see over time what the values are trended. I don't have a ton of data in here yet, but as data grows, I think I got another one that has more points in it. You'll actually see the trend over time, and you can control how much data gets shown on the handheld device and things like that. So in this case, we'll just enter some values here just to show. Go back and see some other values. Oops, there we go. 6. And let's imagine that this is actually a temperature, even though it's a PSI pressure. I'm going to take this a different way, and let's say that we want to use this peripheral device here, all right? And so this actually is a little, it shows the temperature. So we're going to pretend here that I actually want to go in and I want to attach, an image of this. So just to sort of show you here that this is the actual thing. And we can actually see what the value is. We've got to use our imagination a little bit because I'm taking a picture of it. Looks like it's a little warm in my office, but so you can go through and actually attach this. Now this will be cool when I show you what it actually does here in just a second. But so we'll go through and we'll attach that. And the data really isn't so relevant that I'm putting in right here because I don't have any rules or anything like that. I just wanted to sort of show you that I could attach a picture to that and things like that. So in actual fact, I'm probably just going to go through and skip all the rest of these because I haven't made these tasks mandatory, so you can skip over them if you want to. And you can enforce that in the system if you'd like to make tasks mandatory. Now, this is one of the cool things that I did. So if I added an e-signature to this, so when I complete this thing, I'm signing here on the iPad, I'm going to save it. And then I am going to, presumably I'm coming back into the bubble if I'm in a disconnected environment, or maybe in this case I'm on my Wi-Fi, so I just resynchronize this back with the mothership, as I call it. And so now I'm done with the iPad, right? So I'm an operator. I've done my round. I'm coming back into the control room, and now let me shift gears and put my hat on and say of a consumer of information from the system. So for that, we're going to actually go back into the Procedure Auditor Plus. And I'm just going to refresh that to pull in the current round that I just executed. Now, so one of the things that this system does is designed to give you, a mobile decision support platform, right? Think paper to glass, right? So I don't have that spreadsheet anymore, but if I need to get back to that, the Auditor Plus is what allows me to do that. So the Auditor Plus is the piece of software that allows me to go through and see everything that happened, interact with everything that happened, administratively override things if I need to. There's a calibration error with a sensor or something like that. And then I can very easily from here click a button and dump that out back to a PDF or back to paper, right? So, that's the sort of the full circle there of, paper to glass, back to paper kind of thing. And so one of the things I really like about this is, so at a high level, you can see any exceptions or violations that I had, my data that was input into the system. So in this case, I had one. I had a high for air compressor 1, right? I know that. I intentionally put that in there. So that's back to my spreadsheet. That's the red color that makes it red, and you can pick all the colors. But what's cool about this is if you come down here to this right here, you can see that it was scanned in by a peripheral, right? So this confirms that I was actually at the asset. And you'll see when I get to air compressor 2, it doesn't say that because I didn't scan that intentionally. And so from here at a high level, you can see all the information about what happened, right? So there's my signature that I added. There's my attached picture that represented the fictitious PSI temperature, the 78. So that's a real thing I just took. That's the real temperature, right? So just show you, go from the iPad to push it back in here to this environment. So all that information is getting stored later. If you need to rerun this report, it's not really rerun. It's all in a database. So you just go set your time filters and you say, this is how I want to consume this data. So here's all of the values from within the system. You can see trends here. One thing I forgot to mention, but you can actually also go through and send this data out. So if you want to send this data to any of the Wonderware ecosystem of technology, so whether it's System Platform, InTouch, the Wonderware Historian, others, there's tons of external ways to get data out of the system. Presumably you'd be typing it in, right? There's other ways to get stuff like that too, but you can also very easily get this data out. So if I wanted to push this value, this 64 PSI out to my SCADA system, per se, and generate an alarm, you could very, very easily do that. So here is something I'm going to sort of go through and just, as a business analyst or, an engineer of the system might, be interested in the reporting and things like that. So you can sort of go through and investigate. You can see, hey, from here, I didn't scan compressor 2. Obviously, I didn't do that, so that's that there. And then whoops, I lost my mouse here. And then so lastly, I can from here create a PDF. And so just to show you here, all that PDF, now so it gets all my signature, it shows all of the actual, the timestamps of who I am and what I did and the values that were entered and, what was done, if any. So in this case, I skipped over this in a handheld device, but, I had it, when the differential pressure got high, I had it show a pop-up that says, hey, let the supervisor know, and that can kick off another procedure or a notification or another workflow or anything external in the system if I want to. So that's that from a usability perspective, from a reporting perspective. I like that we sort of took this round and kind of reimagined it and added some logical capability to it, added some location awareness technology to it. So bear with me. Let me swap back to my... So if you have any questions, type them in the chat box or feel free to shoot us an email. And like I said, if you'd like to know more detail about the the tech note that I built, you can go in our Knowledge Center and probably just search for QR code or something like that, or shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to send it to you as well. Hope you found this informative, and thanks for taking your time to attend today. Have a nice day.